Hi, my name is William Seawell. Welcome back to the Induron podcast. Today we have Joey Thomas. Joey is our water and wastewater business development manager. Been with us for quite a few years. Joey's a very well-known guy out in the water world. We're really proud to have him here today. But today we're going to talk about a specific topic. We're going to talk about water tank repaints in the field. So we talk about water tanks a lot, and we often differentiate between new water tank painting and water tank repaints. And there's a reason for that. Joey, for those that don't know you, most people do that listen to this podcast probably, to be honest. But for the three people that don't, would you mind introducing yourself and who you are and where you come from?
All right. Yeah. Thanks for the introduction there, Bill. I think you may have oversold me a little bit to our audience, but I have been around for quite a while in this industry, dating back to 2003. So 23 years. Been with Induron for the last 4. But the first 19 years of my career, I did work for a water tank manufacturer and started off on the maintenance side, doing a lot of rehab, repairs, repainting, overcoating, a little bit about what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
And then transitioned into the new tank side for the bulk of my career and really heavy on project management and was a long-time client of Induron's. And after 19 years on that side of the fence, I decided it was time for a career change. And having known the Induron team for all those years, looking across the landscape, just felt like it was a really good fit for me. And certainly happy to be over here and really love working with the Induron team.
Wow, so you were a client or a customer of Induron's for years and still decided to work at the place. That's really something, huh?
Yeah, surprisingly so.
We're just going to end this podcast right here. We've said everything we need to say.
No, I was not scared off. I'll tell you that.
That's good.
In fact, I was pretty impressed with having used the products and experienced the service. Knowing Andy Oderzinski and Tex Enoch up in the Pennsylvania area, and then getting to know Davies over the years was just absolutely a blessing. Anyone that knows Davies understands how neat it is to know that guy.
So tell me this, man. I like to kind of play these out as a scenario almost, because like we could talk about 10 million theoretical ways to do this. How do you paint a water tank? And we could put people to sleep. We're going to do that anyway. But in an attempt to not do that, let's kind of play it out as a scenario. I own a water tank, okay? Let's just say I do. And it's looking pretty rough. It's got some rust on it and stuff. I'm calling you, hey, Joey Thomas, you've done me right in the past in your prior career. Can you help me with this water tank? What are my options? And how should I go about it?
Yeah. So there are a few ways we can tackle this task. First and foremost, we could look at coming in and doing a full removal of the coating system. Okay. That might involve containment if you're in an area where you really need to kind of have tight constraints, don't need abrasive blowing off in the neighbors' yards or coatings issues. So
that containment's fairly expensive, though, right?
It is expensive. Yeah. It's an expensive process, very labor intensive with all the blasting that's required and just the labor associated with the containment. But that's going to take you back down to bare metal and really kind of start you back from scratch. So you're really hitting reset on the entire process that you got from new, when the tank was originally built.
Sure.
Another option that we see quite frequently is just doing a simple overcoat of the tank. And where we run into this a lot is earlier in my career, we built a lot of tanks. Some of them were in cornfields, some of them were in city squares.
Yeah.
But a lot of these areas have just kind of gotten grown in on, if you will. Sure. A lot of development around these tanks. So
what was a cornfield is now a strip mall. And
exactly.
A neighborhood school.
Or there's power lines super close to the tank. So there can be containment issues. It might not even be practical to look at doing a containment, or if so, it might be extremely expensive. Another thing we run into a lot is a lot of asset owners, might just simply not have the budget to do something like a full containment, full removal, full new coat. So oftentimes, if we can get a look at the structure, really kind of analyze it a little bit, might find that we could just simply do an overcoat. Go over what's already there.
So what are the limits of overcoat? Now, I know the answer, obviously. We've both been through NACE school, but whenever you talk about overcoats, you can almost hear a NACE instructor in your head kind of They're kind of wagging the finger. But working in the water tank world, I know these are very commonly done. How do we get there? How is that?
Yeah. So it's certainly not without risk.
Yeah.
It does take some careful planning in order to pull it off, but it could be something as simple as a delamination between coats, right? What is on that tank? What type of chemical structure is the paint that's already on there?
That's the pre-existing coating.
Exactly. Yeah. What are we going to try to put over top of it? Sure. Are the two going to work together? Mm-hmm. And then going from there. Once we start in with surface prep, we're probably looking more along of hand tool cleaning, power tool cleaning, pressure washing is very frequently used. So it's a little bit more of a minimal surface preparation, and you really want to make sure you get all those impurities off there. Anything left behind could possibly result in blistering. So we really want to make sure that they do a good job on the surface prep, even though we're not blasting. Water jetting, pressure washing, hand tool cleaning. Really want to make sure we get a good job there to hopefully ensure the success of this coating, because when we talk about overcoating an asset, really what we're trying to do is we're trying to extend the useful service life of that asset and what's already on there with a minimal cost.
Maximum years per dollar.
Yeah, exactly.
We can get it, right?
Yeah, and oftentimes overcoating is the way to achieve that. So you really want to try to determine, what's a good candidate. We want to really kind of look at how much rust is there. Is it just some general rusting or some spot rusting or some widespread rusting where we really kind of need to start thinking about going a different direction?
Sure.
And how many coats of paint are on there? Has it been overcoated before? There is such a thing as, it's too much paint, right? If you've got 8 layers of paint on there, trying to put layer 9 on there could be catastrophic.
At some point you're fighting gravity and internal stresses of the film, and
and when we think about that, we think about putting a new coating over an existing coating. There is a curing stress there, if you will. That as that new paint is curing out, again, we want to make sure that it's going to adhere to the underlying coating that we're going over, but it can add some minimal stress there. And different, coatings technologies have different levels of curing stress that we really need to take a look at and then make sure we're coming up with a good recommendation that's going to work for Bill's water system tank number 2.
Yeah. I drive around the country a lot, going to various job sites, water tank and I see with my own eyes a lot of water tanks, right?
Yeah.
And probably the most common tank I see are these aluminum colored small witch hats and leg tanks.
Yeah.
All throughout rural America.
Yes.
They're all, I'm going to say the South and the Midwest because they're overrepresented there.
Yeah.
But you see these bad boys in New York and LA, they're everywhere.
You do.
Those are alkyd aluminum tanks, correct?
By and large. So it's a little bit of an older technology, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of those tanks have been around, some of them up to 100 years.
You see them, the reason I bring it up is you see them all the time being repainted without blast. You see pressure wash, repaint. Sure. I see it in specs. I literally see it driving around. Yeah. What's up with that? Is that a viable system? Is it still? It
is certainly a viable system. When I say old technology, I'm not necessarily trying to knock it. I mean, it's good technology. It's worked for decades. But if you've already got that alkyd system in place, if we're going to come back in and recommend an overcoat, obviously we're going to kind of want to go back with that same technology so we can make sure that it's going to be compatible.
The alkyds do have some unique things about them. They're very easy. They last a relatively long time on the dollar. Yeah. It's like, I'm sure if we compare the weatherability of permagloss or fluorourethanes to alkyds, they'll be found wanting. But then we whip out the cost.
Exactly.
That's kind of the great equalizer,
It really is. And, I guess kind of back to my history, I've been 23 years in the industry, and I will say, in the early 2000s, I definitely saw more of those. Yeah. I don't see quite as many of them today. A lot of the new tanks are, like you said, more towards epoxy urethanes and fluoropolymers. But there's so many of these tanks that are out there that are pushing 100 years old. I mean, STI, SPFA, they have a Century Club, and it highlights some of these tanks that have been around that long. Yeah. And alkyd technology got them there. So
it still works.
Still works.
I think I used the phrase like these are not and not that any paint is sexy, but these are not sexy. They're not the, when your paint rep comes to the engineering office talking about the new hotness. This is not it.
They're typically talking about a permagloss with a nice fancy logo, but the old Tin Man has been around for a long time. And
Tin Man, I like that.
Yeah, and they're neat tanks, and they serve a purpose. And again, if properly maintained, they can last.
It's probably time to just do a blatant pitch a bit here, but Induron doesn't just have Armor Lux aluminum, it's alkyd aluminum, but we also have colored variants, do we not?
We do. Yeah, that's a little bit of a unique classification that we can offer customers, and we've got plenty of customers that still use it.
We have a blue and a green and I don't know, don't hold me to every color, but I know there's a blue and a green.
Yeah.
And they look, I've seen those and they're really good looking. It's I don't know, man. It's a dang good looking tank for the price. It really is.
It really is.
And
and I saw some pictures the other day. I think our Nick Jones had one that he did.
A lot of those in Alabama, a whole lot.
Yeah. And it is a good looking tank. It is. Looks wonderful. It's got a unique color. And I think, there's certain water districts that they kind of get on board with something and they like it and they keep using it. And guess what? It keeps working.
So tell me this, man. All right. So we talked about the older technologies. Let's say I have something new. I have a tank that was painted in 2000, a large, landmark in the city composite tank or something like that.
Yeah.
It's got the town logo. It's got the high school mascot. It needs to be high gloss and look good for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
How do we attack those? There's probably already fluorourethane on there. The last city administration spent that, 25, 30 years ago. We're not putting aluminum alkyd on that. How do we deal with that?
Hopefully the tank that you built was one that I was a part of, something I could kind of be proud of and go back to, which is kind of neat because at this point in my career, I actually am kind of coming back around to some of the early tanks that I built that are now coming due for that.
We know if it wasn't you, it was probably Glenda Curry's.
Glenda. We competed fiercely with one another for years, and we certainly had our share. But in a situation like that, we really need to look at it and kind of see what level of degradation we're looking at on the coatings.
Yeah.
Do we have any rusting, or is it just simply time for a freshen up? Could be something as simple as a pressure wash and an overcoat, like with a urethane or a fluorourethane top coat.
Yeah.
We could always go the route of probably containment, most likely if it is in a town square, and coming back in and blasting and then going back in with an epoxy and a urethane and probably maybe a fluorourethane finish.
I'm a tech service guy, so whenever I get called to these kind of scenarios, I view it very much like that. But I'm like, if we can do recoat, pending no systemic issue with the coating.
Sure.
And when I say systemic, what do I mean? It's like, well, let's say we have a perfect finish where 1% of the area is messed up in some way. We don't know what happened there. Some redneck shot that with a rifle, got hit with a rock.
It happens.
Hail damage. I mean, I'm kidding, but I'm serious. Something goofy and weird happened there that does not represent the state of the coating on the rest of the tank.
Yeah.
That can be spot primed and overcoated.
Sure.
No problem.
Yeah.
If I get to a tank, though, and we get up, let's say we're able to do a hand inspection, which isn't super common, but it does happen. It's great. If you own a tank and you want to do this, let us come look at it for you, please.
Yes.
We will.
Yes.
Put us on the road.
By all means, call your Induron rep.
Yeah. When we're able to do that, if I start finding adhesion issues on one side of the tank, then we're probably not serving them by recommending an overcoat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and particularly if you're doing, and you should be doing multiple. If you're doing an adhesion test, you want to do at least 3 spots and 3 trials at each spot, at least. But yeah, if you're seeing it, to the extent that it's no longer a spot,
right?
We might be flirting with doing a full removal.
Another really good test, and you probably shouldn't do this yourself because it requires a bit of prior experience. But if you have a urethane or a fluorourethane, if you do a solvent rub test on those after having aged for years, a very good rule of thumb, and I'm not going to determine a job on this, but it kind of speaks to, are we wasting our time here or should we keep pursuing this? If the urethane or the fluoro becomes gummy upon exposure to MEK with a solvent double rub, right? I think it's ASTM-D 4541. We're abusing that standard, but just send angry emails to me, okay?
I'm sure we'll get some from our competitors.
5401, I believe. I cited the adhesion standard, but I meant the
it's our podcast. Yeah. You can call it whatever you want.
Definitely getting the emails now.
Yeah, you are.
But if it gets gummy after that, it can accept a top coat. a year after, 2 years after, 5 years after. It goes really long. It depends on conditions.
Yeah.
Is that going to be true for a tank in rural Nebraska? Almost certainly, man. One in Abu Dhabi, maybe it's been sun-baked bad enough to make that not
and
true.
geography plays a role.
Geography matters.
Plays such a role.
And on that same note, the one in Nebraska is probably not as subject to as much salt damage,
Exactly.
and underfilm corrosion. The one in Abu Dhabi is probably getting eaten alive, man, by UV
Most likely.
and sand and salt, and the environment totally matters.
No, it certainly does. And you have to, again, I mean, doing any of these things is not for the faint of heart, and there's money involved. I mean, even in an overcoat, even though it's a much more budget friendly option, there's still a substantial amount of dollars there. So I always encourage our customers to really work with their reps, to really test, and let's not test one spot. On an elevated tank, let's not just pick one leg and say, "Oh, it's good, we can overcoat, let's go." Lo and behold, you get up to the top of the roof of the tank, or the shell, or the riser, or the belly that has some really bad spots. So we really want to get a really good comprehensive view of that, because again, the name of the game here is to come up with something that's actually going to work, not just sell some paint and get on down the road and hope it sticks.
I remember a particular job we did with Induron and Mike Watson in the Florida Panhandle within living memory, right? Where we have a leg tank with an existing coating on there. Not our coating. I'm not going to say whose. It was a polysiloxane, though. And for those in the know, those have a reputation for being somewhat difficult to overcoat.
Yep.
Right? We had never done that before. And we didn't know what the solution was. But I'm very proud to say we went to the site. We conducted adhesion testing with our top coat, Ebon, which is an unfilled 100% solids polyamide wicking primer, if you will, sealer,
Mm-hmm.
We conducted adhesion testing, got acceptable adhesion, and they painted that tank with the polysiloxane on it in a partial sweating state, by the way, with just a pressure wash. And it's in service today with Ebon and permagloss fluorourethane on top of it. Maybe we can get a hold of some pictures to flash on the screen about right now. I think I definitely have those pictures if we can get them in. It's beautiful. Looks great.
Yeah, so you took my next talking point there.
Just go check.
Yeah, you did a test patch,
Just
right?
go check.
Yeah, so that's another thing. It's just coming in and doing the testing. It's like you get a pretty good idea, but I mean, it's not that hard to do a test patch. And that's what you guys did, right?
That's exactly what we did, man.
Mike did test patches.
We did 3 test patches.
Yeah.
And we did one on the central riser that was sweating.
Yep.
And we just dried it with a cloth applied, right? Put down adhesion dolly, ASTM D4541, the right standard this time, guys. And then we pulled it, right? We put one on the outer legs with having sanded. And we put one on another outer leg having just pressure washed. And in this case, we found the sanding didn't reasonably contribute to higher adhesion numbers. So we had the contractor just do a pressure wash, 5,000 to 10,000 PSI. I believe that's a NACE WJ3. Don't hold me to it. Put on Ebon, 1 to 2 mils, permagloss fluorourethane, 2 to 3 mils, and then the town logo on top that included a beautiful American flag. It looks good. Still in service today. It's been less than 5 years, more than 3 years. Looking really good.
Yeah. So there again, I mean, you just kind of did a recap of what we've been talking about. You did some checking, did some adhesion, did a little bit of research to make sure you knew what you were working over, and did a test patch, and there you go, successful project.
That's really oftentimes people get in a rush. We have to decide, no. And I get that. But time is money.
Yeah.
But if this tank's not going to be painted for 90 days and you own the tank, don't be ashamed to ask your paint manufacturer to send somebody out there, man.
No.
That's what needs to be done. Even if you have prior records, let's say you have a spec that shows, moisture cured urethane, zinc, epoxy, acrylic polyurethane was put on this tank 17 years ago. You can prove that. You know it. Why not check still?
It's not that hard to do.
There could be some other condition.
Yeah.
If your paint vendor is not willing to do that for you, do they need to be your paint vendor?
You need to find a new paint vendor. And Induron will certainly be your new paint vendor.
This comes up all the time in repaints, man. And depending on who you ask, you'll get a million different answers. And when you look in the technical literature on, product data sheets, marketing materials, I've never written any of those in my life, so I'm totally not responsible for any of this, right? But when you look out into those, you see a lot of claims about dry fall.
Yeah.
And it's kind of all over the board.
It is.
Earlier you mentioned, we have a tank that was in a cornfield and is now surrounded by commercial infrastructure, people's businesses and homes. How do we skin that cat, man? Is there a way to paint a tank and not paint cars? Is that possible?
It is. Obviously, we want to monitor conditions.
Yeah.
Right. We want to make sure we're within the parameters of the product. But there are certainly, we have dry fall coatings that can do that. And when we say dry fall, we mean that the point of application where the paint is actually being applied, before that paint falls to the ground, the overspray, the excess, if you will, before it falls to the ground, it is converted from a liquid state into a kind of a chalky, dry state.
Cured enough.
It's cured enough. There you go. And it's not going to land on a vehicle or on a house or on anything and cure on that structure.
Sure.
So yes, there's dry fall technology that can handle that.
I always find it interesting. Dry fall is important, especially in the water tank repaint thing. It makes or breaks jobs. I watched Induron with a contractor paint a water tank in my hometown, open air, sprayed acrylic, and to be honest with you, I was a little nervous. There was stuff really close, but it turned out fine. Conditions were good. Using Aquanaut 2, which has really good dry fall properties.
Sure.
But it's interesting to me, my paint formulation and lab background, dry spray is a property that we attempt to formulate out of paint,
Yeah.
It's bad. When applicators have their tips too far away from the substrate, they're not wetting the substrate and they're hitting the substrate with dry BBs of paint. That's a terrible property. We don't want it.
Yeah. Good luck with adhesion.
When the paint does that at 40 feet away and not 4 feet away, we call it dry spray and charge extra money for it. Now, that's a bit of a... We don't literally do that at Induron, but just I want applicators to know and keep in mind, dry fall is not a magical property. It is literally dry spray. Every paint will dry spray. When you atomize it, if enough solvent or water leaves the film, you've got nothing but resin and filler left, right?
Yeah.
Which is that dry spray. But just don't... What I'm saying is monitor your conditions and watch your tip distance. Technique matters. We have dry fall products that work. Absolutely. I'm not telling you to doubt that at all. But look alive out there. A 95-degree day in South Mississippi with high humidity is not the equivalent of a brisk fall day in Wisconsin with low humidity.
Yep.
And dry fall paints are going to behave differently in those two environments.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. I preach that gospel. Look, we sell dry fall paints. We'll continue to.
Yep.
But dry fall is not a magic on or off light switch. Our product Endurabright has terrific dry fall properties, some of the best I've ever seen, especially for a solvent-borne paint. But I'm sure you could find some condition where even it would be tested, So that's my dry fall rant. Sorry, as always, I'll put the soapbox away. But.
No, I love it. And the technology's been around for a while. Mm-hmm. But you just mentioned Endurabright. I think that technology, that's taken it maybe to a little bit of a different level, if you will.
Endurabright's an older product that we've historically not sold a whole lot of because we've had Armorlux aluminum that also kind of fills that niche. Recently, with some of the larger water tank maintenance contractors, they've really kind of picked up Endurabright almost against our will. It's not that we don't want to sell it, but they have discovered that they like Endurabright separate from Induron's concentrated marketing and sales efforts.
Sure.
Right? And yeah, they love it. They love its dry fall properties, and a lot of tanks are being painted with it right now.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes that happens. We make products and hope that people will buy them, and people go, "Yeah, that's okay, but I really like that thing you have way back there that you developed 40 years ago, and that's just fine." So
would that be a good that be a good candidate for an pressure washing overcoat, right?
Absolutely. And the good thing about Endurabright is it has compatibility with all pre-existing substrate types like EBON.
Wow.
It's not bound to going over aluminum. It's not bound to going over solvented 2K products like, fluorourethane or urethane. Endurabright's truly versatile, 1K, and the KISS philosophy is in full force with it. Keep it simple, stupid.
Sure.
If you mess up an Endurabright application, maybe this isn't the thing for you. It's really really easy to do. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
We're talking pressure wash, spray or hand apply, put on 2 mils, go on.
And that is one thing we really do strive, right, is to make something that is user-friendly to that applicator.
It might be the most important thing we can do as a manufacturer.
It really is, because when we think about this, painting tanks is not easy. I mean, these guys are out in some pretty harsh conditions, hanging off sides of a tank, whether they're in a basket or a stage, or some guys even in a seat board.
Yeah.
So anything you can do to make that guy's job a little bit easier goes a long way.
If you think about it, that there's several parties involved with a water tank being painted, right? You have an engineer, you have an owner, you have an applicator. That doesn't just help the applicator. Think about it. When the applicator can easily do his job, they do a more thorough and better job. Mm-hmm. So the owner gets a better end product. People get stuck in this headspace where as if we sell dry film. We don't. We sell liquid buckets of paint that a skilled person is to apply to your assets. That second part has to happen. It's very important,
Yeah.
So making that easier greatly increases the probability the owner is going to get a good end product, And then the engineer looks good because everything went smooth. So it's kind of like, that's not just serving the contractor. That is truly in everyone's best interest, that the applicator have an easy time. And you engineers out there, you need to hear that message. I'm sorry that you do. Well, I love you, but it's very important. It's super important.
And I work with a lot of contractors that when we're looking at jobs that they will literally say, hey, if we can use that product, or if we can use, single leg, 100% solids, permanently 100 SL, if I can use that, it's going to make such a difference for me. So we certainly have the contractors that have that experience that really want to use those products to make their life easier and know that it's going to be an easier application on them and a better long-term product for the owner.
It's that simple, man. It's really, it
really is.
The paint has to be put on, and that's the majority of the cost is not the paint. What is it? It's the labor.
It's the labor.
And the access.
Yep.
So if the product can facilitate that getting lower or easier,
sure,
or less overwork, less do-overs, win.
That's how successful contractors continue to win jobs.
And that's really how we've stayed in the business this entire time. Sure. We're not the cheap paint manufacturer on the block. I'm not scared to say that in front of a camera. That's the truth,
No.
We are the experts, and we do bring something special to the table, and we deeply care about the applicator. That's how we stay in the game.
Yep. Yep. One of the biggest reasons I decided to come to Induron.
Joey, thanks for your time, man. I think that's about all we got. Anything else you want to say to the folks before we depart? Or
no,
stay cool. It's hot out there.
Yeah, it's hot out here. In case you can't tell,
a little warm in the studio. Sorry if we look like we're not ill. It's a little warm in the studio today. But
no, it's been a blast talking about it. Hopefully, we didn't bore anyone, and look forward to doing another one of these sometime.
If you listen today, listen again. Thank you once again. Induron Podcast. We'll see you next time.